Hello and welcome to Light Warrior Radio. My name is Dr. Karen Can, and I'm the #1 bestselling author of Sensitivity is Your Superpower: How to Harness Your Gifts, Fulfill Your Purpose, and Create a Life of Joy. And if you're a sensitive soul, would love to have you come into the community. The Light Medicine community is at karencan.com/community. It's free to join. A lot of sensitive souls there, earth angels, star seeds, indigos, just all sharing with each other, supporting and loving each other in a very safe space. So love to see you there. And if you're brand new to my channel, make sure that you click the subscribe button. And also, we have a free gift for you at sensitivesoulguide.com. That's my sensitive soul empowerment guide, the 3 ways of navigating your way to more peace, positivity, and personal power. A lot of P's there. So sensitivesoulguide.com. And speaking about empowering here, I have a powerhouse speaker today and guest, my friend Kristen Nagle. Let me tell you a little bit more about her. I met her through an academy that we were both part of, the Wellness Leadership Academy. And in fact, one of her besties is actually Leslie, who works at the Academy of Light Medicine. And so I stay connected, to all of Kristen Nagle's amazing adventures through Leslie and all that kind of stuff. And what was really neat was through the 2020 pandemic, there was a lot of stuff going on in Canada that I got to know about and be a little bit concerned about, thanks to our friends in Canada, including Kristen, and she was so pivotal in sharing important information with many of us, especially those of us not living in the States. In fact, the Freedom 2020 Convoy, day-to-day updates through Instagram, like so much work, so much truth telling. It was amazing. And then I see on Instagram, like she had another baby, and I was like, wow, another baby, and had the baby at home, and her beautiful, beautiful stories and process. And then now she has this amazing course for, I love this, Warrior Mamas. So the name of our podcast today is The Rise of Warrior Mamas. And let me share a little bit more about Kristen, and I'll formally introduce her. So she is dedicated to dispelling fear and empowering individuals to trust and cherish their bodies, particularly women, from conception through motherhood, advocating for holistic health. With 14 years of nursing experience, primarily in the NICU, Kristen experienced a transformative shift after the birth of her first son in 2015. Realizing the profound responsibility of nourishing his body sparked her journey into holistic health and disillusionment from conventional medical practices, from questioning childhood immunizations to reimagining birth as a natural process, not full of like hospitals and bright lights. She delved into the intricate balance of nature, recognizing the interconnectedness of body, mind, and spirit. Through sharing her personal journey, Kristen aims to inspire others to reclaim their health based on our divine design and innate wisdom. Her passion lies in providing tools and education for individuals to thrive, harnessing their inherent power for true well-being from within. And you can find her at Kristen Nagle, KristenNagle.ca, as well as a conference we'll be mentioning here, reclaimingbirthconference.com. Fantastic, amazing stuff. So, Kristen, that was a big long introduction, but we are so happy that you could join us today.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. You have traveled the globe doing all sorts of things, very exciting things. And let's kind of go back in time. So here you are, trained as a conventional nurse, right? And starting a family. So what happened in this progression that made you do like a 180-degree shift in terms of wellness and health?
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting when I think back and reflect on the whole journey. So I was a fully indoctrinated nurse, believed everything I taught, took it at face value, and this is what you do. This is thank goodness for medicine. Thank goodness for all these things that have been created. And then my first son was born in 2015, and there was people just kind of coming in my life, and Leslie was one of them. She was a pivotal part in this, and just kind of people slowly planting seeds and having a little bit of conversations. And we were part of this stroller boot camp, and our instructor talked about food and health in a way I've never heard before. And I think it was being removed from the healthcare setting, being removed from my job, being on maternity leave, where I was able to incorporate these other thoughts and other concepts and think of things differently. I mean, it didn't at first hearing some of these things, I was like, oh no, like I can't do that. But I think being around the conversations enough, I finally was like, okay, I'm open to hearing more. I'm ready. Teach me. And I had this, now I look back as this divine intervention that kept pressing on me to look into what I would feed my baby, what I was going to feed my first son. And I thought, I'm a pediatric nurse, interested in food and health. I did nutrition, through nursing school. Of course, I know what to feed my baby, but it kept being pressed on my heart. And was like, fine, I will look into this. I understand the immense responsibility it is. What will go into his body will set the foundation for his mood, behavior, and future development. So I looked into food, and lo and behold, I was like, oh, I don't know anything what to feed my baby. What we're being told is not the way. There is another way. And I became really passionate about learning more about food. Every time he would nap on my arms, I would turn on a new documentary, learn something else about food. And I just became kind of obsessed with it, realizing, fortified rice cereal is not the way. They can't digest enzymes until they have their molars, and the amylase digestive enzyme is there. Homo
Wow.
milk, terrible. We tell parents to transition their babies onto this. And
Absolutely. I remember
so
all of
these are
that.
just, yes. And then same with, the fortified vitamins. Why are we fortifying food when they can have the actual real vitamin from actual food? So those were kind of like just the starting points. And so I enrolled at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition in 2016. And that's when all the light bulb moments went off for me. And kind of just really the house of cards started falling down, and my old paradigm and nursing conventional way of thinking was kind of being chipped away at a pretty rapid pace.
Wow, wow. Did you get a lot of, did you feel like, oh, I can't tell people at work what I'm doing? Because did you feel like they were going to push back?
Not with the food. The food was very interesting. People were very open to
Oh,
learning about how to improve their health. What could they eat? What could they do? Those were very easy conversations, and my colleagues were very receptive to me going into nutrition school. So I enrolled at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, and yeah, my colleagues were very interested in my learning.
mm,
It shifted when I took that one step further, because I realized throughout school, health is so easy. Like, health is so simple. Why aren't we taught this? Why aren't we teaching people how to live healthy, vibrant lives? As a nurse who is went to school to help people, help them become healthy, heal, why is this nothing that I learned? And then it was that moment of, they don't want us to know. They don't want us to
wow,
know how to be healthy, how to be empowered, how to take care of ourselves, because they want us in this system to be sick and controllable victims. And that, I realize, is what the hospital conventional world was doing. And so when I was so concerned what my son was eating, what was around his environment, going on his body, I finally had to pause and think, well, what is he being injected with? We're not taught this in nursing school. What is actually going into his body? And what is he being injected for? Because this is another thing you're not taught in nursing, was really the diseases that these shots are for. So that's what I did. I went that route. I dove down into the diseases, what diphtheria, rubella, rotavirus,
wow,
like all these
wow,
things.
amazing.
And yeah, that we're just taught to fear, that they're terrible. You need this shot to live. And when I faced the diseases, the childhood illnesses head on, it totally removed my fear. I,
Mm,
I thought, well, there's, because I went down, well, what's the worst that can happen? Is there another treatment? What can you do? How do you prevent it? What are all these things? And when I faced it head on, I was like, well, these are nothing to worry about. They're really not anything to worry about. If we're eating right, we're staying healthy, there's natural remedies, there's things, there's treatments, there's things that you can do. And plus, a lot of them are rite of passages into childhood, as they develop, as they grow, as they level up in their body. And I thought, well, we're taking away this opportunity in childhood to develop, to level up their genetics, to grow stronger and resilient adults. And so then I just stopped all injections. My oldest had his up to 18 months, and my next two have had absolutely nothing. And this is the shift
wow,
that happened with my colleagues: is they were interested in food. That was okay. But as soon as I started to question our medical practices, that's when I was shut down. And they didn't want to hear anymore. And I just, became this crazy hippie nurse, I
Crazy
guess.
mom. Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. And that does make a lot of sense. Now, did you go through a grief, like a grieving process related to, I went into medicine to do A, and now I'm realizing it's a whole scam, sham, whatever you want to call it. Did you go through a grieving process?
Yeah, I was quite upset. I felt betrayed. And I just felt, well, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I wanted to be a part of. What I had, the hardest time I had to give myself grace and forgiveness was my role in all of it,
Oh,
how
me
much
too.
I thoroughly believed in it,
Yeah.
and how I pushed that belief onto friends, families, patients in the hospital, and my part in administering so many of these injections or other medicines, or just my role. So and then that flowed over into my role in the birthing world and what that looked like. But I had to, yeah, the level of betrayal was immense, but then I had to really find a way to forgive myself in my role, because I didn't know. And I think that's what's fueling me so much now and giving me this passion, is because I didn't know. I want to really show another way and make a difference and bring this into more of a mainstream conversation. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Because in the past, it was either you're just this crazy hippie person or you're a science person, right? Like
Yes,
there was
yes,
like
yes.
no in between. And I remember I was not able to carry my first pregnancy to term. I think it was like I probably was low progesterone, but I didn't know too much back then, just the medical model. So I wasn't able to go past the first 10 weeks, I think. But like I was looking into like what do we do for home birth? Like what do we do for the whole water birth thing? Like what's available? And but nobody really knew. Like even the birth doulas were sort of like, well, yeah, we'll help you in the hospital. They weren't all that. And the nurse practitioners were really nice, but they had no experience, and we're not proponents of home birth because heaven forbid, something happened. And that did happen to me in um medical school, because there was a woman who really, really was adamant, that she wanted a home birth. And so my preceptor was not thrilled about the idea, but I was really like gung ho to support her and all this kind of stuff. And long story short, at the time that she, was in labor, for some reason, my preceptor did not page me, right? So I had no idea what was going on until after she had a crash C-section,
Okay.
and I was so upset. She was upset. I was upset. Right. And they said, well, look, she has, she doesn't have the right pelvis shape. Look at her pelvis. It's very android. It's very, male. And so the baby didn't fit. And I'm like, but the point is you didn't call me and I wasn't there holding her hand. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, so painful. So that
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately was my only home birth, not even home. He said, medical legally, you should not be there. I'm
Yeah.
like, seriously? He goes, no, you're a student, you're not going to get covered. If something happens, I mean, I highly recommend you do not go there. Let the
Mm-hmm.
doula, let the, nurse practitioner handle it. This was in Canada, actually.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, right. But then I didn't even get called. So it was like, it was a
Mm-hmm.
nightmare. It was a nightmare. So unfortunately, I didn't have a positive experience.
Yeah. And I have, like, I know that's a whole other topic to get into, but I have so many questions because that's a false statement that OBs and the medical world put on mothers. Oh, you don't have
Yep.
the right shape pelvis. Oh, your
Right.
baby can't fit.
Yep.
And that's just not true. That is never a case. Your body is perfect. Your baby will always fit, but there's usually something that interrupted the physiological experience prior to that interrupted the birth, but it's never about the pelvis or the baby not fitting.
Yeah, it doesn't
Hmm.
make any sense at all. Like, why would we be
No.
made this way, right? If it's not supposed,
Hmm.
if it doesn't fit, it's like kind of crazy.
Yes.
Just like, they were telling us, well, you need to give babies iron. Really?
Hmm.
And make their poops really, really like stiff and hard to get out. Like, like it just didn't make any sense to me why anybody would be deficient of anything if they're being breastfed or, the whole pelvis fitting thing. And now this woman was very stressed because she really, really, really was attached to home birth. And so the stress in and
Yeah.
of itself, because everyone was against her, you see. So of course she was
Yes.
stressed. So it didn't go
Absolutely.
out, and all they could say was, "See, told you so." So that was
And
a
how awful is
nightmare.
that? Yeah. And so like in that even alone, like you wonder about what kind of support, what kind of lead up was in that if they already had that mentality of
Right.
not wanting to support her in this home birth, what was that doing in that relationship and that experience and with mom and baby and in the labor process. So, you know, when you already have people against you, you're not really being set up for a positive experience or
Exactly.
outcome that you're looking for. Mhm.
Yes, exactly. Well, tell us about your, how you went, the first son and then the second and the third. Like, how did that shift for you in terms of the birthing process and what you had to
Yeah.
live for?
It's been like every one of my babies, my children have taught me an important lesson. Logan was I kind of think about it as the physical body, the nourishment, the food. What does that look like? Not even just what we're eating, but our thoughts and everything around us to keep our physical body strong. Liam was stepping into your body is perfect. Like you are perfectly divinely designed. You do not need any synthetic medicine from man. Like you are not made by mistake. God does not make mistakes, but humans do. And so Liam's lesson was just trusting how perfect we are created, right? And so that was a beautiful lesson in Liam's journey into my life. And then Adley was the whole kind of coming full circle, the birth. So with I was again going back to being that indoctrinated nurse, thinking you needed these injections, needed these babies, children needed these, to even at one point thinking home birth should be illegal, and kind of getting in some arguments with some of my friends. I had to go back and kind of put my foot in my mouth and apologize and just say, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I
You.
see things differently now. But working in the NICU, when you see the worst of the worst and
Yeah.
you see the transfers coming in from midwives, you see the transfers coming in from home, you think that that's what it is. And well, at least I did. And I thought birth was dangerous. And I thought, like, thank goodness there's, medical intervention. So when something does go wrong, they're here to save. But you miss out on all the beautiful experiences that are happening. You don't hear about the
Mhm.
beauty, about the amazing births, about the women, how powerful they are, about the home birth experiences. You don't hear about that. And we tend to kind of also generalize that, yes, some home birth, yes, some poor outcomes happen. But for whatever reason, we highlight those instead, and we don't even pay attention to the negative experiences that are also happening in the hospital.
Exactly.
Somehow those are dusted over,
Oh,
right? But these other ones are highlighted. See, it's dangerous.
yeah.
Um, so that for with my first two babies, especially with my first, I remember being asked, "Are you going to read any books? Are you going to look into anything?" I was like, "Why would I do that?" I was like, "I've seen birth. I know what it looks like in the hospital. I'll be pregnant, go through all the tests, go see my OB.
Did the
When it's
ultrasound
time to have the baby,
this
yes,
week.
all the
You're
appointments,
RH
right?"
negative, whatever. Yeah.
And then I'm being GBS positive. That was a whole learning experience later on
Yeah.
because that's not really what we've been told either. And so I just did all the things. I just followed. I gave up all of my power and just was the good girl that did what I was told. Went into labor. I had to be induced. Had the epidural, and it was like, okay, tell me when and how to push. And
Yep.
basically just I was fully out of my power and just handed it all over. And so when Logan, that was my first boy, was born and placed on my chest, it was you're here. Like, hello. Like, it was very exciting. But looking back now and getting into Adley, my third birth versus Logan, it was like, hi, nice to meet you. You're here. Right. And then Liam, I was starting to become more aware, but not ready. Um, I refused some of the tests, some of the things. Oh my gosh, I swore I would never have another stretch and sweep done ever again because I had one with Logan and it is horrific. It is a complete violation of the human body. It is, the OB going in to actually separate the membranes from the cervix, and it is incredibly painful, and it causes a cascade of a domino effect where you usually go into, certain contractions or you start spasming or water can break and then, maybe you're given
Is that what they
Tylenol. It
want to
creates,
happen?
They are saying that usually it's done at 38, 39 weeks, so you don't go over 40 weeks. It's like, to stay on this perfect timeline of 40 weeks, so you're not going over
Heaven
due
forbid you go
date.
a day over.
Exactly. And so they do this, they interfere, and that's what happened to me. Logan was not ready to be born, but because of the stretch and sweep caused all these things, and that's why I needed to be induced. Uh, so I swore I was never going to do that again with Liam, but then they threaten you with, well, if he's not here by this time, we're getting close. We have to think about induction. I was like, no, never again. I don't want to be medically induced. And so I did some, what I'd say in quote unquote natural inductions. I, went to my chiropractor for electrotherapy, saw lumbar, or I did acupuncture. Then I did, and then I actually submitted to another stretch and sweep, because in my mind, I was like, that is better than Pitocin. Learning later
Mm,
on that there's no such thing as natural inductions, all induction. It is all trying
artificial.
to get baby out before the baby's ready. And so there is no such thing as a natural induction. And
Wow.
uh, and so when I kind of started learning all this, Liam again, epidural, same thing. Hi, nice to meet you.
Mm,
When I learned about physiological birth and what it was to stand in your power, and Leslie was a pivotal moment in this, because I got to witness her two beautiful home births, not there, but hear about it, and her experience, and just how she just like was so much in her body and in her power. And I remember finally being open to it and just thinking, wow, I've really been robbed of an experience. I've really been wrong in my way of thinking about birth. And yeah, and then that's when I was able, and Adley was born in 2023, and I call her my redemption birth.
mm,
I met Billy Harrigan, who was my traditional birth companion, who was with me, and a dear friend, Christina Rigoto, who was organizing the birth conference with me. She was there, and the whole pregnancy was my most peaceful pregnancy I'd ever had, because I didn't outsource my power. I didn't go to a single test. I didn't have a single ultrasound. I just fully embraced my body, baby, the experience. And it was the most peaceful and powerful pregnancy I had versus the outsourcing. I think people don't realize, they think when they go for these tests and do all these things that it gives them peace of mind,
right, right.
but you
Yep.
don't realize when you're waiting for those results, when you're waiting for those answers, you're just hoping, like, I hope everything's okay. I hope they tell me everything's all right. I hope I get the right result. And there's this level of anxiety
Yep.
and worry and concern waiting for the right result to come back. Whereas when you are fully in your power, you just trust. And I always refer back to a scripture that I love, that I think is so powerful. It's Psalm 139:13. And in there, they talk about how we are fearfully and wonderfully made, but it's you knit me together in my mother's womb in that secret place. And I think of
Mm,
that, like, in the secret place in mother's womb. It's not for anyone else's eyes. It's not to
mm,
be seen. It's secret, and it's meant to be just for God, for baby, for mother, and no one else to interfere or see what's going on there. And
see.
I
Okay.
think that's so beautiful and powerful to think of that. Mhm.
Oh yeah, that is. That is. And one has to be either a hermit or or very strong. Because I mean, the minute someone finds out that a person's pregnant, all this advice just starts coming. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure maybe you've given it in the past, right? It's like, and sometimes I can't help it. It's not so much birth, but just somebody has a sore neck. I'm like, oh, by the way, maybe it could be this and that, and it's like, oh my gosh, just shut up. They didn't ask you. So, like, how did you? I mean, obviously, you had the medical knowledge, which was super helpful because they're like, at least you have credentials, right? So, how did you deal with that? Did you just keep it secret? Obviously, your belly gets bigger, then it's not so secret. Like, how did you deal with that emotional and maybe that onslaught of people telling you what you should do?
I feel I was very fortunate, being at 2023, and the circle that I had surrounded myself with. Many had already had home births, wanted home birth. We had
Ah,
lost all trust, right, in 2020, and
yeah.
up to that point in the hospitals, no one wanted to be in the hospital to have a baby. Why, just scary times. Just all the rules, the nonsense, everything that was going on. So I was no longer working, and I think my progression of learning, right, and sharing it and becoming so passionate about it that I was not, it was not, I was fortunate enough that where it was not an issue. I had just so much support in the people that I was surrounded with my family. They knew I was, an educated person, that, I had been through this side, I've done this, I had done the work, I was continuing to research, learning. I had Billy Harrigan, like the best of the best, like in my corner. And so it was, I didn't have any negative influences by this time. Where if I was still working when my first son and second son, they were 2015 and 2018, if I was still working in the hospital, it would have been an onslaught of negativity and advice coming from colleagues. But thankfully, I was removed from all that, so I didn't experience it. And I made sure to keep it off social media because I didn't want the social media world to think that they could penetrate or give me unsolicited advice or put in fear of what I was doing. So that is how I protected myself from that world. Is I waited till maybe I did an announcement like weeks before or something. Like I kept it very private off of social media. So, the haters out there weren't given something to kind of discuss. So I protected my
No
energy
wonder I
that
was
way
like
without sharing
surprised.
it. Yes.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, when did this happen?
Yes, I purposely did not share any of it on social media because this was my redemption birth. I was protecting my space at all costs,
Yeah.
and there was nothing that was going to interfere with the outcome that I was wanting and I knew was possible. So I was so lucky in my immediate, like in-person circle, that it was just all supportive. And then I consciously kept it off of social media to not have anything come at me that
Oh,
I did not want.
so smart. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great. And
Mhm.
I think it was like I remember seeing some beautiful, beautiful late pregnancy photos, and then of course the photos of the birth at home. So amazing. I'm gonna cry.
Mhm.
So amazing. So
Mhm.
then I hear a lot of energy coming about the inoculations and the vaccinations. So have you decided, okay, I'm really speaking out now on this piece
I
of,
started speaking.
I mean, you may have before, but in terms of social media and it being out there.
Yeah, I was pretty bold, I'd say in 2018. 2018 is when I first got in trouble with the College of Nurses of Ontario for speaking out about childhood immunizations was
Oh,
2018.
okay.
It kind of ended, wrapped things up in 2019. And I remember walking out of the disciplinary meeting where I was not ready to lose my license. It was kind of a scary time. And I took the slap on the wrist, you're right, I'm wrong, I won't do it again. But as I walked out of that meeting, I said to my owner rep, my union rep, if they ever come after our children and try to mandate anything, there's nothing that's going to stop me from speaking out again. I just didn't expect it to be so soon after, because that was just
2019. Yeah, yeah.
2019, and then boom, 2020 came, and it's like, okay, well, here we go. So I was quite bold about that right from the very beginning. About childhood immunizations, started speaking out 2018, and then 2020 my voice was very, very loud early on, and then it just kind of continued to grow and grow the more, I guess, other people heard and ended up in the media and all the kind of nonsense that came from
Right.
that.
So
But
I don't think I've ever had a picture in the Toronto Star or any of the big, big papers, but there you are, you know, there
mhm.
you are. How did you handle the media attention, negative media attention? Any attention is better than there's energy coming at you, right? It's actually better than no attention. But how did you handle that? How did your family handle all of that?
The first one was November 2020. After a girlfriend and I organized, Miriam, we organized a freedom rally in our hometown, November 22nd, or yeah, 22nd, November 2020. And that was the first kind of media debut. I knew the risks I was taking with my job. I had accepted that. I was already suspended. So I knew, hosting this rally was not going to go over well with my employer. But I
Mm.
was so naive to the media and what the media was going to do. And so that was devastating. It broke me. It was, to see LHSC NACU nurse Kristen Nagle, in hot water, like my name, where I worked, the unit, and and then the whole article going on about how I put premature babies in danger, I was
Mhm.
reckless and dangerous, and just the
You make so
fallout.
much shit up, excuse the language.
No, it's okay. It was, and then knowing, my heart and why I was in there, I was like, those are the babies that I am doing this for. The very vulnerable are the ones I'm protecting. To think that I would ever put them in danger, just broke my heart. And how that was received in the public by people. I think my unit said they had to hire extra staff to man the phones, people calling in to see if I had ever worked with their baby. I was on the floor when their baby was in there. They were so
Oh
worried. They were
my
paranoid. They were
gosh.
like, there's talks of lawsuits, all these things going on. Um, at that time, even Leslie was brought in um, by her employer, and told she was, we could no longer do Sweaty Successful Moms. We could no longer, be friends, and things like that's how intense it got. So my parents, my mom was quite upset, being in the public eye like that. I think Chris's parents thought, maybe he should think about divorce. I never went like that far, but it was really bad. It was
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
The hate, the vitriol, just coming from all sides, being in the public like that was really
And that was for
devastating.
just the freedom rally.
That was for the Freedom Rally, and it was just how the media um, depicted me, like drew the picture of me,
It's like, oh,
in the
here's a freedom
article.
rally. We're supposed to be locked down. How dare you? Was that like,
Yes, yeah, you're going to kill people.
oh
You're
my
going to have
gosh.
blood on your hands. And so I just remember, and that's when I saw who was complaining about me, college, who was writing letters. I saw, friends, family, business owners, and I got to read all their complaints, what they had to say about me. And yeah, I was broken. I was just a mess. I just actually remember the exact moment where I was literally on the floor, just a sobbing mess. And it was awful. And that is actually what really tested my faith. I had started just questioning, a couple months before that, and it was that moment that I remember, like, I just found myself on my knees, and I prayed, and that was the turning point for me in my faith. And when I really, I would say, like, accepted Christ, and I came, and because that's what picked me up off the ground, and
Mm.
that's what lifted me up, and that was the hope I needed, and and just that peace and the strength, the renewal of strength. I put on the armor. I say, in that moment, I put on the armor, because I can either just stop and do nothing, and all of it would be for naught. I mean, lost my job, friendships, relationships, all of it would have been for nothing. Or I could pick myself up and keep going. And that's what I did. I picked myself up, um, with strength from above. And I found another nurse speaking out in Toronto, and we joined forces with some American nurses, and we spoke on a health and freedom stage in Washington, D.C., January 6th. And that was kind
Yeah.
of, the other media hit. I think at that point, a little bit more prepared. It still was a shock to see how much hate and the things people could say. It still penetrated deeply. But what we learned after January 6th, because when we flew home to Canada, we were deemed domestic terrorists that took part in the rioting and storming of the Capitol on January 6th. Just crazy, just nonsense stuff. I was suspended, but immediately terminated from our jobs, all these things. We were internationally defamed. The amount of hate that came in was just excessive. But this is where now we learned that it was okay, because once the hate came in, this next wave came, and it was just so much love and support and
Mm.
encouragement that came from all over the world. That was
Wow.
like, okay, we're doing this now. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going, and it's going to be okay. So we realized that, yes, the slander is terrible. Yes, it's awful what they're saying, but now people know where to find us, and people know that there's nurses speaking out. People know that they're not
Right. They
crazy.
need
People
to
have somewhere to
speak up.
turn
There are
to.
people that feel the same
Yes.
way they do, but they're too scared to maybe speak out. But then they're like, well, wait a second. These people are speaking out. So you had actually founded the Canadian Frontline Nurses, correct?
Yeah, co-founded Canadian Frontline Nurses. That came after the January 6th event in 2021. And yeah, we formed Canadian Frontline Nurses, myself and Sarah Junian. gathered all these nurses behind us in support, and we just kept going. We spoke all over the country, ran events. We did a rally in front of the College of Nurses, let them know we would not let them bully us. And
Good for you
that was
guys.
a fun one. That one was great. That was the first of its kind to ever do a protest in front of a college, a regulatory body. So that one was really fun. And yeah, I guess we just kept going. We had important work to do to bring awareness and bring hope and answer questions. And until we've talked about this before too, until there was no point in fighting anymore. And I shouldn't say no point, but it was just time to change the energy and change the
Right.
the direction
Yeah,
and
just have
turn
to
that
breathe
fight
it.
into.
Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
fight into our freedom, but
Yes.
there is a point where we have to get past, we have to go through it. In other words, it's like when you're going
Yes.
through hell, keep going. That's the saying, right?
Yeah. Yes.
um, Now, how did you decide to do the whole freedom convoy thing? Because I know there's still people in America that have no clue what that was. I know my family in Canada, even if I mention it, they're like, "Oh, that's so terrible what they did to the people in Ottawa." I'm like, seriously? What were you told? Because my friend Kristen was actually there,
Hmm.
and you were doing the daily, updates,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. How did you decide to do that?
I was at a rally in London, Ontario that I was speaking at, which was my latest trial. I was fined, what was that one? $9,000 and put on 2 years probation for that one, but that's a whole other story too. But that was at that
Lost
rally, it was
count how many
January.
times you're supposed to go to trial.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. I just kind of like tallied it all up yesterday and yeah. But at that rally, it was January 22nd, 2022. And it was the day before the start of the convoy was going to happen. So the convoy left from BC from the west on January 23rd. And so I was at this event on Saturday and hearing about it and thinking, okay, this sounds like something. I had kind of heard talks about it, but I didn't quite understand what was happening until I was at this rally. And I thought, this is huge. Like something big is happening. And so while the West was leaving from all the way from Vancouver onward, Southern Ontario was going to do border runs, Sarnia, Windsor, things like that. So the next day, I was like, we need to go be a part of this in Windsor. So my husband and my boys, we got up early, 5:30 in the morning to head to Windsor, be part of this, kind of rolling convoy to the border and back, and of the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor towards Detroit. And I was like, wow, something is happening here. Like, this is powerful. This is going to be, history, life changing. And I remember getting there, and the first truck that I saw that led the way read Jesus is King on the front,
Hmm.
huge. And I just thought, okay, yeah, this is beyond us. This is powerful. And so we did that day. And I was like, and then after that, we got home, and I can't remember the name of the app. Starts with a Z, but we followed the truckers all the way from the West every day. Listen to them on the trucker app. You can hear them talk. You can chime in. You
Okay.
can talk to them, and it was like completely interactive. You could hear kids calling in to thank the truckers. Grown men, you can hear them crying, just be like, "This is what we're doing it for the kids," and it was so emotional. And we just like, yeah, just tearing up thinking about just these comments, the kids, the truckers, like this energy. And I was like, we need to go. Um, so me and two girlfriends went for the weekend, and I thought that's all I was going to do. And once I got there, I was like, no, I need to stay here. Like, this is huge. We left London with all the trucks the day they were leaving and the day they're heading into London. We followed the convoy in the overpasses. Oh my gosh, how they were just full of people coming all over the overpasses, down the side, families, children, just everyone, hundreds on every single overpass down Western Ontario. Very busy. And some of the ones that made me the most emotional were the ones like the isolated ones standing on the side of the road. I remember this woman, side of the road, older woman, no one, but just stood there in the snow and the cold, waving a little Canadian flag. She just had to be a part of it and see it. Or we were getting into some of the like colder weather and some of the smaller countryside, and there'd be just like one person on the bridge waving a flag. at these smaller communities. And I remember just the dedication. They were there for hours, all day, all night. We rolled into Kingston in night, and there was like people with fires on the side staying warm, people still on the bridges, just watching all day. And just the hope that it brought to Canadians, the hope that it brought to the world. Um, it was the most powerful thing I'd ever experienced like that. And so I went for the weekend, came back, and I told my husband, we're going. So I was home for barely a day. We went
He
back.
was like, yes, ma'am, or what?
Okay, we're going. Yes, it's like, okay, let's do this. And then I was like, well, I know I need to stay. I need to stay. I just feel this is so important. I need to be here. I need to show the truth. I need to let people know what's going on. And so he went back with the kids and believe that too, that I needed to stay. And that's what I did. And I just tried to share truth every day, documenting, sharing what was going on. And most of us would say it was the happiest place on earth. I have never felt so much love, so much community, and so much connection than those couple weeks in Ottawa on the streets. And just watching people work together, solve solutions together, come together, cleaning up,
Yes,
shoveling
I remember the
driveway, the
snow.
hockey. Yes.
Right. I mean, okay. So for context, so some of the American, followers are like, what was this about? So this was, I think, was it about the vax mandate that was supposed to happen with the truckers,
Yeah,
the
the
truck
truckers, yeah.
drivers?
They couldn't cross the border without it to get into the
Right.
States. Mhm.
Right. Right. So they were rallying, or everyone was rallying against that particular thing. And I remember seeing, because you were documenting this, people clearing, like, because I think the city stopped clearing the streets of snow. So then the
Mhm.
people did it, right?
Mhm.
Like you guys did it,
Mhm.
and then there was like bake sales, like not sales, like people baking stuff, and they would put it like feed people on the street. Like that was
They were feeding the
amazing.
homeless. The homeless had never been fed so well, taken care of, had warm places. Oh my gosh, there was so much food. I just had never,
The
it's like the community,
partying,
the love. Yes, yeah.
the bouncy
Dancing.
castles,
Yeah, so much. Yeah, the infamous bouncy castles
yes,
now.
the
Yes.
infamous. Oh my gosh, heaven forbid the bouncy castles. Wow, this is quite the insurrection here.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh man,
Yeah, it was really incredible until it wasn't,
yeah.
as we know, until the
Till
police came in,
the
violently removed us over 2 days, and
Yeah,
yeah,
but I'm not sure who they were. I'm not sure that you know what I mean? Like we would think, oh, it's the RCMP or oh, it's the police, but they didn't look like either to me when I looked at what
yeah,
they looked like,
they they
what they
they
were
were
wearing.
that was the Quebec squat, not squat, SWAT team. They had definitely different uniforms, but I know some of the officers from different cities, and I've heard stories, and yeah, it's just unfortunate to think about, but everyone sometimes wants a
When you
paycheck,
were
and it
divinely
was quite a
protected,
substantial, yeah,
right? There was one where you were up against a concrete something or other, and
yes,
literally somebody grabbed you and lifted you over the fence, if I recall.
yeah,
Otherwise, you would
yeah.
have been more hurt.
There was an officer that was quite, he just had evil in his eyes. And we were on this pathway and drop off beside, railing this way to the street. And then there was this concrete block behind us. I don't remember what it was, but he just kept yelling, move, move. But there was nowhere to go. There was people. There was this
Right.
block. There couldn't move. And, he came and kind of just shoved me and others. And I went down and fell. And as people were, being pushed, towards me over top, and yeah, all of a sudden just hands, arms came, lifted me up so quickly and got me out of there and back to my feet. Yeah, it was
And even
that
when
was the only moment I was actually scared.
and then the mace, like the spray, like somehow you had your head turned in that moment and then you didn't get it in your eyes or something. Was that true?
I have no idea how I did not. Again, divinely protected. I don't know, because I was right beside people getting sprayed directly in the face. There was the pepper spray, the tear gas, the rubber bullets, like all the things, and somehow I was protected from all that, even though I was right in the thick of it, right beside people that it was happening to, and I just praise God, and thank Him for whatever angels were with me those 2 days. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. I remember You had like hotel rooms, so some of the truckers could go and have a shower, right? And one of my favorite parts was when they made some sort of, was it the, like, made a new law or rule or whatever, that if you were caught giving fuel, to the truckers, and you'd be arrested or something, and then everyone brought a jerry can, right? Even the
Mm-hmm.
children. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
who you gonna arrest? Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So inspiring.
It was amazing. It was just this beautiful sense of, okay, we're all in this together, literally. And this was the time where actually everyone was. And it's like, well, and this is what, after the convoy, I was like, maybe people think, it didn't end the way we wanted to do, but I think it taught us the most valuable lessons that we needed to take into all our communities, because that's the civil disobedience. That is the unity. That is the solutions of how we're going to overcome all of this. Every time they came at us with a different obstacle, a different challenge, we're going to arrest you. There's this fine, there's this. What did we do? The community rallied together and supported each other. It was like, okay, the jerry can thing. Well, they just like bought every single jerry can they could have and had this like jerry can parade where everyone was walking all over, the city with jerry cans. It's like, okay,
Love
well,
it.
you can't arrest everyone. And, that's what we said at the very beginning in 2020 when we spoke out, and we had hundreds of nurses come and support us. And it's like, okay, this
Mm.
is great. Thank you for your support. But if you spoke out, if you speak out, we could really end this,
Yeah.
you know? And it didn't happen, but that was Ottawa. That was, we all were united in this
Mm.
cause, and nothing was going to take that away. And that is the only way forward, is to remember to stand in love, because that's what Ottawa was as well. It was
Yeah.
not hate on hate. We did not turn violent. We weren't aggressive. It was love. And that's why we, were victorious in the end,
That's right.
because they didn't change our hearts. So coming at it with love, coming
They
at it with
wanted to
unity,
incite violence.
working
They
together.
wanted
Did
you to
they
fight.
ever? Yes.
Yeah.
And we didn't. Instead, someone was walking down the line offering coffee to both sides. Tim Hortons box, do you want some coffee over here? Well, officers, do you want some coffee? Like, it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
It was amazing. It was just so amazing. Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
powerful. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's segue, and let's just share your website here. So KristenNagle.ca. So KRISTEN, and then NAGLE.ca. And there's actually a Find Your Inner Warrior Mama course. Let's talk about that, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Reclaiming Birth Conference.
Yeah, I know, it's so hard. There's so many different things to dive into, right? And I'm a big talker, but with my experience through my journey, we talked about my first son, the physical body. Second son was the inner trust, and then Adley was the fully reclaiming of the power, and standing in my ability to put everything I'd learned into the works. I created Warrior Mama's course, and it is for the mother who's overwhelmed, mother who is feeling, discouraged, that, wants to move out of illness into more natural health, for the mother that just wants to raise her children in peace without having to worry about negotiating with the government. So I've created this course to help women, mothers, stand steadfast in their convictions and values, but to have community, because that's the only way. You can have all the knowledge, you can have all this, wisdom and this knowing in your head, but if you don't have the support, or know, that you're not alone, it's really hard to continue to act in that. So it's to create a community where we support each other and help each other, and to walk on this road less traveled, where my hope is that one day it'll just be the road. This is the path. We are getting back into, what motherhood should look like. We're the nurturers, the healers, the experts in our home, and we're going to be leading the way. And so Warrior Mamas is more than a course. It's a movement that I see to get back into motherhood, because it shouldn't be so hard, and we shouldn't have to do it all alone. And right now, I think that's because we're trying to mother the way the world is telling us, society is telling
Right.
us all these different ways. And it's time to mother from above, from getting back into kind of kingdom, and, in more of a sense of community. So that is my hope with Warrior Mamas, and taking you through the journey that I went on with my 3 children. And then at the end of it, we're all connected. So that is,
Mm,
yeah,
that's
Warrior Mamas.
beautiful. Yeah,
Hmm.
and like you said before, that community piece is really, really important because if we're
Hmm.
trying to, I mean, they want us to fight, so it's like fighting the system. It doesn't work that way, and some people want so much for the system to change, but that's not gonna change from one person trying to fight against the system. It's
Hmm.
that community going, well, you do what you do over there. We're going to do this, and it's so
Exactly.
powerful to do that. And tell us about the new conference that you're co-organizing.
Yeah. And then because of my birth with Adley, and really I just talked even just like the pregnancy side of that, just how it was most peaceful, powerful pregnancy I'd ever had. But oh my gosh, the birth, that was the hardest, most amazing thing I had ever experienced. And it was quite intense and very difficult for me. But I had Billy and Christina, wise women surrounding me. My husband was there, just so supportive, so in tune to what I needed. Just he was so pivotal in my experience. He never took his hands off my back. I just needed the counter pressure the whole time.
Wow.
And when baby was ready to come, and there she was, and we talked about how my first two sons, I was told what to do. Baby put on my chest, and it was like, okay, here you are, hi. uh, Baby girl was ready to come, and she came into the world, and I was gifted what Billy will call the hot minute. And I had no one did anything in the room, no one said anything. I got to just be like, oh my gosh, and look at her and say, baby girl, we did it. Like, we did that. Like, we got through it together, and we did that. Not just me, her, but it was a we. And I get so emotional thinking about that, how powerful that moment was that I was blessed with, because so many women don't get that moment, and it is so important. And then to have all the actual natural hormones just flood over me, and all the pain and everything that had just gone through hours before taken away, to realize how strong we are as women, how strong my body was, how strong baby was, to have that full, experience. I thought, no, this women need to know this. Women need to know that it's available to them. It's accessible. They can do this. We need to remove any fear that is still, within our subconscious programming, all the propaganda that gets thrown at us. We have to remove the fear, and we have to help women understand how incredibly amazing and powerful they are. And that was the birth of the Reclaiming Birth Conference. Was, how can we bring this into the mainstream? How can we bring this out? How can we get more women to understand this beautiful gift that we have an opportunity for? And yeah, that's the Reclaiming Birth Conference that's happening September 20th and 21st. We have speakers coming from all across Canada, the US, and the UK, and I'm really excited for it, because that's another one, not just a conference, but it's a movement, because we're going to be changing the way that birth is looked at. Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. So this is an in-person conference, correct? Is
In
it in
person.
Toronto? Where
Yeah,
is it?
it's in London, Ontario.
London?
Yeah, it's kitty corner from where I was terminated, so I kind of feel that there's that. It's very specific. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow, that is a powerful. I'm just, imagining what that would be like to give birth and not to have everybody like just, oh, do this, do that, here's your baby, all that kind of stuff, just to have that moment of recognition and being with her there, with you there. I got to tell you, I laugh out loud and sometimes want to cry when I still see on in movies in they'll do movies about the future, and we're like in spaceships and all that kind of stuff, and how they're still doing birth the way from 1970, right, with the
Mm-hmm.
stirrups, with the
Yeah.
everything, like
The screaming, the panic, the
the
emergency.
the lights, all the people in the room. I mean, it's just artificial nature of giving birth. And then of course we're being programmed to some degree around, well, we probably don't need birth anyway, we'll just
Yeah.
artificially whatever inseminate, I don't know what they call it, but we'll just grow you guys in the lab, right?
Yeah.
Women don't have to go through this pain. They don't have to go through that. They can live their lives. They can be empowered. We'll just grow you babies in the lab and we'll make them genetically perfect. So this is kind of like that. There's a movie. Oh shoot, I forget the movie names. Anyway, there's what the seer or something, the seeker, or the listener, or whatever, and they go through where there's one person who remembers the history, and everyone else has their memories wiped, and he doesn't realize until he starts taking. He doesn't. Well, he's the only one that realizes that when the person gives birth, that the babies that don't meet the perfect standard are disposed of. Like he didn't like he just thought they went to some happy place. Like he didn't really get it, until he had the memories transferred to him, and then he was realizing that this baby that was crying, that his dad was in charge of putting him into the refuse pile, and they go somewhere else, but nobody ever questioned where they go. And he started going, wait a second, what's going on here, right? And then he steals the baby and he's trying to get out of the city. And anyway, and the government's trying to stop him, right? Like, wow. Yeah. So lots and lots of interesting programming that's happening with regards to birth. So I think it's amazing and fantastic. I'm just so proud of you, Kristen. About you and these wonderful people putting this conference together and just being out there and being outspoken. Oh, I'm gonna cry again. I think I've cried more in this podcast than any other podcast in my life because I'm so inspired. I remember when you guys got arrested, and I said, is it okay if I do a little mini reading? Ask you guys, and Leslie said yes. So I did. So I just checked a divine pass score of you guys getting arrested, and it was like near 100%. So I asked God, I said, why? Why is it for the highest and greatest good that my friends got arrested? And God said, because they're leaders. And we're growing them to be those leaders. And here you are. It's just amazing. Mm-hmm. Kristen, thank you so much for being on this show. You're such an inspiration to me and so many people around the world. If you had, one thing you want to share with our listeners, some piece of wisdom or something you want them to take away, what would that be?
It's hard because now I'm all emotional too. I just don't want people to be discouraged. I just don't want people to be discouraged. That's where they want us. They want us to be discouraged. They want us to focus on the bad. They want us to focus on the evil. They want us to focus on the doom and gloom. And sometimes, that's where we find ourselves, but just not be stuck there. There's one thing to bring awareness and knowledge to what is happening, but there's another when we focus on the doom and gloom and we stay there and consume it. Mm-hmm. And that is not helping us, the individual, and it's not helping where we want to go in the world. Evil will always be there. Evil has been there since the dawn of time, and it will continue to be there. So our job is to focus on the good, to bring in stories of beauty, of what is happening in the world, to focus on all the goodness that is happening, to create and move forward, and to be this beacon of light and hope so that others can find the way. And it's not to stay and dwell on the darkness and the doom and gloom, because that's a distraction, and it's keeping us from being in our most purposeful state and keeping us from being in our power. So focus on the light, bring in the beauty, because it is all around us. We just have to look for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Great counsel there. And like I said, I'm just so thrilled with everything that you've created. Since that first, thing that I heard about, we got arrested. What? From that to now, I know the legal struggles or whatever you want to call them are still there, and those challenges are still there, and that kind of thing. Can people donate through your website, or do you have a tab for that, or is that just a private?
It's through givesendgo.com, I think /Nagle. If people feel called and they can do that, it would, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we're going to put all those links down below. I'm not even sure we put this on YouTube, whether we have to spell your name incorrectly or something. I don't know.
I know, you just never know. Yeah.
Put it down or whatever. Oh, we'll find out. I'll ask God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so I'll just have to be careful what I write on the description.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry about that.
Um,
I apologize in advance.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? I'm the one that wanted you on here for the longest time, and you shared everything that I really desired for you to share, very openly, vulnerably, authentically. So really appreciate you, Kristen, and all the
Yeah,
wonderful people you work with. And thank you, thank you, thank
yeah.
you. And also,
Thank
of
you.
course, want to thank our beautiful light medicine community, light warriors. Spread the word. You know, spread the word. There's a lot of positive things out there. And if you know a warrior mama or rising warrior mama, check out Kristen's amazing offerings down below. All right. Thank you, everyone. Big
Thank
love. Big
you.
love. Bye.